Hey guys, it's PlazmaScream, and this week we have Batman Ninja Batman as a challenge character. And this is a very useful character, one of the best supports in the entire game, and it can be pretty good on defense as well. And the teams you're about to make with him are honestly pretty sick. But let's go ahead and check out the challenge here. You need a Catwoman, a Nightwing, and another Batman character. So you need to get a Batman to get a Batman. Um, Catwoman and Nightwing, you can just buy as bronzes. You probably already have them. Batmans are all gold characters though, so you have to buy a gold character from the store if you want to play this challenge. So I recommend either Batman Prime or Arkham Origins Batman. Of course, Arkham Origins Batman is more expensive, but he's way better. So you're gonna need one of those, and you definitely should get this challenge early on because this is an extremely useful character. So if you can, definitely, even if you're an early game player, do whatever you got to do to play this challenge. Whatever you got to do, because it's very well worth it. And as for, the man himself, go ahead and check him out right here. He has base 1300 damage and base 1500 health, which is very high. This is the highest stats in the game, tied with a few characters. He has a passive that does all kinds of things. First of all, if he's outnumbered, which means if your team has less surviving members than the enemy team, whether that's 2v3, 1v3, 1v2, any of that, if you are at a disadvantage at any point in the fight because one of your characters got knocked out and they have more characters than you, you are classified as outnumbered. Okay? When that happens, he takes 50% less damage from everything. That means specials, DOT, basics, super moves, all of it. It will stack with damage reduction gears, and it will stack with Nuke to Shazam if you have him paired with him. And also, if he is outnumbered, he is immune to Life Drain. That is most notably going to happen from the Overpowered Pill or Let's Go Up Chest Armor. And I think also Teen Titans Raven, too. That's the main ones you're going to see. So he will not give the opponents any life drain if they try to use specials on them, and it would, activate life drain from it. So they cannot heal, and he stays, very tanky. And the other part is passive. He gives 20% crit chance to all Batman Ninja teammates. That's including himself. So if you have a Ninja Nightwing, Catwoman, or Joker, they will get free crit chance just from being on his team. And that will stack with gears, and that will stack with augments as well. If you have, say, a Batman Ninja Nightwing with Tainted Totem, and he's max crit, you will have 80% crit chance, but when you give Batman to him, you will then get buffed up to 100% crit chance on Special 1 and Special 2, just from having him on the team. That means you don't have to use Demon Blade or Demonic Cloak or any of that to get 100% crit chance, and you just have it just from him being on the team and your augments and of course, Totem. And also on top of that, this part right here is not just for Batman Ninja teammates, this is for anybody on his team, again, including himself. If they deal critical hits on their basics, they will get 50% higher power generation on those critical attacks. That is for when you are doing basic attacks. And that goes for anybody. So it does not have to be Batman Ninja teammates or, anybody specific. It can be anyone. And then again, that will stack with other power gen sources, like, say, Regime Green Lantern, and power gen gears, like Ibistic. And if you give him crit augments or crit gears, you can force him to be guaranteed crit, and he will get humongous power generation, especially if you give him power generation from teammates as well. And that can be very appreciated, because if you make him a support, that means he can get to special ones so easily and so quickly after just a few basics, and easily shatter gears, whenever you need to, basically like on demand, because he'll get just insane amount of power generation. You won't even need to use like Raise Close Scimitar or the Master Death Card on him if you don't want to, because the critical hits will get him so much power generation that you'll get it, in no time. You'll get to a special one in no time. And that is his very large passive. Now, mine is Elite 2, and I honestly recommend that if you plan on using yours for offense, yours should stay at that range as well, between Elite 0 and Elite 2. Now, I know that's going to sound like a crazy thing to say, because everyone loves their Batman to Batman. Everyone spams him on all their teams. They love using them on the Batman trios and, all their favorite teams. And I get it, but this guy is best used as a support. His passive, I've already talked to you about this passive. It's very, very helpful, not just for him, but for his teammates as well. So he literally supports his teammates with his passive, making them crit more, making them get better power generation. And not only that, because he's a Batman character, his special one applies multiple gear effects. These ones that have like 7 hits on them, the few Batmans that have the longer special ones, those ones can apply up to 3 gear effects. Most of the time it's 2, but you can get 3. I think usually the way you can get to 3 is you do it after a heavy combo. You do a special one after a heavy combo. And also it depends on like the distance away you are from the opponent. If you can manage to do a special one to where only the kick, like the 1-2, and that long kick he does before he starts throwing projectiles. If you miss those first 2 hits, but you land the kick, a lot of times that will make the gear effects go up to 3 times. So that's how you can make it happen 3 times if you're wondering. Otherwise, it'll just be about 2. But that is extremely useful because if you give him Claw Horse, he can shatter multiple gears for the opponent. And if you give him any DOT gears, like the Ibis-Stick, which again will stack with his power generation if he is critting, or Let's Go Helmets, he will be able to apply lots of DOT and shatter multiple gears. And I want to mention that because he's a Batman Ninja character, he gives himself crit chance for free, and his DOT, whether that's his bleed from his special one, because it does bleed, or his burning from these gears, his DOT can crit. And if you are crit augmented, you will get, instead of 50% crit chance, you will get 70% crit chance on DOT. That is going to make his DOT crit way more than often than normal. And if he's max crit damage, it is going to seriously hurt. Look at these gears right here, okay? The helmet gives 6%, but it gives a crit boost. And then the Ibis-Stick gives you 10% DOT damage. Now, together, that makes 16%. Okay? At best, like at absolute peak, if you are 100%, crit augmented, which, not possible here, but like, let's say you crit on every single hit, right? At best, you're going to do, 30% instead of 10% from Ibis-Stick in DOT damage. And instead of 6% from the helmet, you will do up to 18% in DOT damage. These two combined from just one DOT application can deal up to 48% in DOT damage. But that's not even it. Because he's a Batman, he applies multiple gear effects. So then, instead of just 48%, which is half somebody's health, that's not even counting the bleed either, or the damage you did with the special one by itself. Instead of 48, that is now doubled. So instead of just 30 from the Ibis-Stick, that can go upwards to 60 because you applied DOT twice for a special one. And the helmet, again, instead of just 18, it can go up to 36. So now you're dealing upwards to 96% damage in DOT. You can most likely, if you're getting lucky with your crits, you can just take someone from 100% to almost 1% of their health from just 1 bar of power from DOT. That is insane. Now, you can do this with any Batman character, and notably like Flash from Batman would be really good with it. But I want to mention that he is one of the best DOT builds you can do, because he can make his DOT crit by default. You don't need augments. Of course, it's definitely appreciated if you have it, but even without it, he can make his DOT very, very, very strong. And even at Elite 0 or whatever stats you have him at, he can take down any character, provided they're not DOT immune, with just 1 bar power and rot them down to very, very low HP because of his crit DOT. And that is very, very appreciated. Other gears you can use with him. I think you should always use Claw Force and some kind of DOT because, like I said, it's very powerful. You can give him a crit on basic gear, like the OP pill or the Let's Go Up chest armor, and that will make him, with just a little bit of augments, like literally just 10%, that will make him guarantee crit on basics. Which, even though, despite us not having a power gen gear here, the Let's Go Up chest armor or whatever basic gear you have on him will basically act as a power gen gear, like a honorary power gen gear, because it is going to make him crit on basics, which is then going to make him, on those crits, have more power generation, up to just 50%. And of course, this stacks, because it goes even higher if you give him, power gen teammates like Regime Green Lantern or Animated Harley, for example. So, and notably, this also makes you immune to power drain, which is pretty nice for a Claw Horse user. Sometimes you might fight someone who's trying to steal your power as you're trying to shatter a gear, so that can be really annoying. Or you might fight a Batman Catwoman. Like, one of the most annoying Astro Harness users in the entire game is an Astro Harness Batman Catwoman, and being immune to her power drain, not only immune, but you get power from it. That is very, very appreciated. And also, because of the helmet and the chest armor, you become very tanky because of the helmet's block buff right here, and also the reflect on special 2, not just special 2 but special 1 as well, right here, 20% chance to reflect all specials while blocking. That can make him very, very tanky, and even more so if he's outnumbered, which is definitely something that can happen. So a setup like this could be very, very effective. And another cool thing is, his special 2, if he's low promoted, he probably won't use it a whole lot, but if you get weak and you need to get a heal, like he gets really low health, you can hit a special 2, and if you land it unblocked, it is going to do an insane amount of damage, and you will probably full heal from it, because even Elite 2, I mean, if you're augmented, it can do 6-digit numbers, Like, just a setup like this, you can one-shot somebody. You can one-shot a character that has way higher stats than you, in multiplayer, at just Elite 2, with just a normal setup like this. Because that special 2 is like a nuclear bomb going off, and it can just explode in somebody's face and knock them out. So sometimes, honestly, if you wanted to, if you didn't want to try and shatter the Astro, you could just pull out special 2 and one-shot them. So that's definitely an option, So there's that. As for, his teammates, like I said, Power Gen characters are really appreciated. Regime Green Lantern is probably his best teammate in terms of another support character to pair alongside with him on any team. Batman Nightwing, of course, is a very, very good carry if you give him Ninja Nightwing and Ninja Batman, because Nightwing will benefit from Batman's passive, giving him free crit chance. And what I like to do when I use them together is I will do Claw Force, Let's Go Helmet, and Quake Engine, and then I will pair these two alongside Batgirl Prime. And what that will do is that will give Batman a bar power to use, and he will be able to go for a special 1 right away, and he will be able to apply bleed on that special 1, and then Nightwing will tag in. That bleed will allow Nightwing to be able to knock out the opponent before his special 2 is over. Normally, Batman and Nightwing cannot knock out multiple people in special 2, and they can only get KOs in the final hit. But with bleed afflicted on the opponent, he can knock out on any hit. And he can also multi-KO with special 2. He can even get up to 3 KOs with one special 2 if you are using somebody that has bleed and Quake Engine equipped, because it'll allow him to knock out the first opponent, the second one if they're not blocking, and then the third one again if they're not blocking. So that right there is an amazing combo for him. And then what I'll do is Batgirl should be right here. With Batgirl on the team, I will give her Astro Harness and full throat chestplate and the full throat helmet. That way you have Resurrection, Astro Harness, passive is one of the best in the entire game. It is so helpful and appreciated for so many teams. One of the best passives you could possibly use on a team. It does not get more helpful than that. And then for Nightwing, I have him right here. You give him Totem. Just going to be special 2 carry. And then I actually will use Heart of Darkness. That way he gets super strong special 2, from the 30% damage increase. But also the power duration as well. If you lose your 2 bars of power somehow, when you tag in again later, you only get 1 bar of power because you just have Totem. You're not using Master Death Cart. So having Heart of Darkness will help you get the 2 bars again if you need to. If this doesn't happen often, but if it happens, it's really appreciated. And also, it will give you even more power duration because if he's max crit like mine is, he will be basically having 80% crit chance when he's getting critical attacks. And then the last gear I have is 4th Lord Golly Mace. This will help him get those multi KOs even more because it will make the opponents tag in with much less health from taking area effect damage. And with his guaranteed crit special 2, all of his hits are going to crit, so you're going to be doing a lot of damage in AoE. That's going to soften up the second opponent and the third opponent, giving you an easier shot at getting that full team KO. That 3 KOs and 1 special 2, making that a lot more realistic to happen. I did think that perhaps Enchantress would be good for him, but I think he just needs as much damage as possible for a special 2. The first hits, it's not the strongest because only the last hit of his special 2 has a minigame, so you want that first hit to get a one-shot in order to get the KO with the rain attack, the kunai rain. Because if you get the full team kill, you need the first hit to get a KO, you need to get a KO with the rain after, and then you need to get a KO with the final hit, of course. So in order for that to happen, you need to hit as hard as possible. So I'm stacking special 2 gears alongside him. And then I'm also working on augments for him as well. So mine is, 50% crit chance and like 236% crit damage, as shown here. I'm almost done with the crit damage. And I think I'm going to keep Nightwing at Elite 4. Because this team right here I'm talking about with Batman at 2, Nightwing at 4, Batgirl at 2, that gets 100,000 team power, which is a really, really nice spot to have him at. Means you're not finding a crazy amount of Astro Harnesses. Ninja Nightwing does not have the best time against Astro Harnesses and health thresholds like Jon Stewart, New 2 Shazam, and Astro Harnesses, of course. So having that ability to shadow them with Batman is really appreciated, and also having the team, team power set in such a way so you should not fight as many Astro Harnesses is really, really appreciated. And even if you do, you've seen I have the way Batman geared. He has no issue tagging in and shadowing an Astro Harness. Like, he can easily just tag in special 1, shatter all gears, because you already did a special 1 earlier in the match to set up the bleed. So when you do it again later on, you'll get the full Claw Horse, Master Death Cart, Gear Shatter. So you will immediately shatter all their gears and apply bleed. And then when you tag out, if they have any power, you power drain it because he's giving you humongous power drain on tagging. And so when he comes in, they will have no Astro, no gears, no power, and you can just blast them with that special 2, knock them out, keep going. That's probably over after the next guy tags in. It is very, very, very powerful, very strong. I will say, if you do want to use a Batman Ninja team in some way, I think this is probably the best setup you can do for a Batman Ninja offense team. Defense is built a lot different, but I think if you want to do Batman Ninja on offense, this is probably your best bet. Catwoman she's really good on defense, but offense is a different story. Because basic attacks is slower to win than specials. There's obviously issues in that area, whether you fight someone who's got like an Astro or Jon Stewart or Raven Prime or Les Corpsets. She's got like more issues than most carries do. But there is a setup I do like using with Catwoman. There are some carries I like to use alongside her, being like Regime Hawkgirl and Incoming Catwoman, like an Elite 7 carry where their stats are not too high. And I talked about this in my Regime Hawkor video, but I kind of like the idea of a backup carry, Ninja Catwoman. And what I recommend doing for that is you can use Astro Harness on her, and you should always. It's like her best gear. And then Overpower Pill is, obviously another good gear for her. You get the power drain, life drain, all that is good stuff. And then the last gear is up to you. This really kind of depends on what gear you have available, on the team. Let's Scope Helmet is very good. The crit boost gives you a damage increase for her basics and everything as well. So definitely Let's Scope Helmet will be good for her, and it makes her very tanky. If you're making a team with her on it, you probably don't have a fourth world set on somebody because the Astro user is not using fourth world. You got your carry, and then you got your support with Claw Horse. They probably don't have fourth world on anybody. So you want to still have somebody that can take a special. So the helmet will be really good for her. If you have helmet on somebody else, I think the best bet is the Ibistic because her DOT is very, very strong, and you can make it even stronger with Ibistic. So you can get a lot of DOT from Ibistic, and her bleed. Especially if she's crit augmented, and if by chance you have her paired with Batman, you can get a lot of damage on that bleed. Even on Elite 1 or Elite 2, that DOT can hit very hard, and Special 1 can hit very hard. If you're going to use her for defense, I would gear her a different way. And I highly recommend, if you are going to plan on using her for defense, that you gear her a very specific way. Where's my Catwoman? Right here. Here, one second. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Okay, never mind. It left. Anyway, so what I recommend is you give her at least 10% crit chance. And the reason why I say that is because if you have just 10%, you will actually have that character perform as if they are 100% crit chance. So just 10% is needed for that character to crit on all their attacks. That's the DOT, specials, basics, all that stuff. Which means you do not actually need a crit on basic attack gear for her. It is redundant. And what I actually recommend instead is to use a setup like this. Go into Azrael, and funnily enough, the MP character, the MP reward gear for this season, Soul Taker Sword. Now, you might wonder, why would I use this over Power, 5v 3R? Well, you get Power Drain from this gear. However, Catwoman's Power Drain is broken in the way that when it happens, it drains all power from the opponent. Not just a little bit, all power. And that's not just on combo ender, that's all basics. Lights, heavies, all of it. So that's already giving you a stronger form of power drain. And then you have the life drain chance. And while that's nice, it only heals Catwoman. Whereas if you use Gauntlet to Azrael, not only are you getting even higher life drain chance, 95 compared to 90%, so more often you're getting that life drain, but you're also healing your entire team as well. So when she goes to that combiner, she's going to heal not just herself, but her two teammates, and making them even harder to kill, making them last even longer. And also, it gives her a health increase on top of that, making her harder to kill. So she's getting heals, and she's got more HP because of the 30% max health. And that is really nice, because medals on defense have way higher stats than normally. They have higher stats than your medals, because I believe it's to do with support cards, the way they treat them for metal characters. So they get way higher damage and way higher health than normal. So they get even higher health than that on top of that because of the gauntlets. And then we have Soul Taker Sword. And I only recommend really using this gear for this exact setup right here that we're talking about. Anything else is just so, niche and not really worth doing. There's better gears to use for whatever you're trying to do. Like, if you really want life drain that bad, just use Let's Go Up Chest Armor, and you'll do it. Like you're doing Phantom Zone, just use the chest armor. You'll get it done, like, one fight. And it's a lot higher chance to do it, too. This is just 50%. That's not really a good chance to make it happen. But anyway, this on Batman Catwoman is probably one of her best gears for many reasons. It makes her basics have a 30% chance to be unblockable. Catwoman's basics on defense, they're very, very scary. especially when they crit you. But she can't crit you or really hurt you that bad if you're just blocking it. However, if she breaks your block, then she is able to crit you after because you stop blocking after your block is broken. So then after your block's broken, she can just tear through you and, rip you to pieces. Especially if you got an evolved Catwoman. Mine's not evolved yet, but maybe one day after I get this pack opening, plan on doing. That'd be nice. Or I get lucky from Phantom Zone. I only need one more copy. We're not that too far. But anyway, she can't crit you if you're blocking, but she can if you breaks your block and then keeps going. And then she can just tear through you in just seconds. So that basically makes it so you cannot just sit there and play passively versus Magic Catwoman. You can't just sit there and block and, and just try to tank her or wait out her passive. That will stop all of that. So that's very, very, very nasty with her. The life drain is nice. It won't happen a whole lot, but if she happens to using special 2s, she will heal from them, and a special 2 is very strong. It is insanely powerful. So if she happens to get life drain on it, she'll probably get a full heal from it, which is really cool. We definitely take those. So it's just a nice little benefit. Not the main selling point, but it's nice when it happens. This last part is, very helpful for her as well. So if she gets a KO, and then if she's augmented and with these gears on defense, I promise you she will get hundreds of kills per season. She's just gonna tear through everybody. So let's just assume she's gonna get KOs. Okay. When she does, she is going to drain 15% of their damage, and it's going to go to her, which means based off of their damage stat, she is going to take 15% of that, and it's going to go to her damage stat and make her even stronger. So she's going to get stronger with each kill she gets in the fight. And a lot of times she's either going to knock out everybody or knock out almost everybody. So you may as well assume that's going to go from 15% to 30% from knocking out 2 people because it stacks up to twice. And she is going to get, even stronger. And if you find someone who has a particularly high damage stat, like a metal character, or, a high stat gold, like say Injustice 2 Superman, Flashpoint Batman, Batman Lord Joker, Black Knight Flash, all that kind of stuff, she's going to get a really, really high damage increase from doing that. And I believe if you happen to fight anyone that has a augmented damage stat, like from damage augment from Survivor, that probably gets her even higher from that too. So that is her best gear setup for defense. As for Nightwing, if you're going to use him for defense, there are a variety of gears I like to have on him. He is good in many, many ways, very flexible. Go ahead and teach some here. So the number one thing you almost always want to have is Ninjato. That is his best gear by far. It gives him, first of all, area effect defense. Just by him having it, he's tankier because of the reflect damage, but also he's absorbing that area effect damage, and it's going to give him a insane amount of power. So odds are he's going to tag in after you did something that did AoE. He's going to have 3 bars, either blast you with a super move or special 2 and probably just knock you out because they're going to hit so hard that you can't even stop it. So even as just a tank character, this right here can make him put in so much work. And it's just all around the best gear for him. Other gears for him, that's you always want to have Ninjato, but the other 2 gears are pretty flexible. You can't go wrong with Totem and the Master Death Cart. Lets him, soak up that AoE while also being a very strong carry. Other good options, the 2 out of the 4th wall pieces gives him even more HP. So at this point, you have 80% HP increase from the chest plate and the Ninjato, and also Resurrection to top that as well. And this is particularly nice if you have him in the first slot. Other good gears you have, if you don't have it on Batman, Batman helmet is very nice with him. This setup right here gives him an insane amount of health increase because all 3 of these gears give 40% HP increase. You can also use this right here if you want more damage reduction because all these gears give damage reduction to Nightwing, and that would make him very, very tanky. And this is also pretty good too because it can give him heals if he happens to go for special 2s. If he blocks special, he'll probably get some 2 bars of power, and then chest armor will actually let him heal when he gets for special 2. So not only will probably get KOs after that, but he'll heal from it. It makes them just really, really tough to knock out. I would not actually recommend using block gears on Nightwing because what's going to happen is if he blocks a special, he's not going to get a whole lot of power from it. So you kind of want to focus on HP increase gears because they're not going to necessarily reduce the damage that he takes, but it's just going to let him, you know, have more health to take damage. So that's going to let him get a higher power increase when he blocks a special. So that's why you kind of want to focus on gears like these three. You know, that's going to give him, you know, the highest amount of power possible. Because if you use block gears on him, he's actually going to get less because he took less damage. So something like Let's Go Helmet is not actually a good idea. You could also use the Master Death card on him with gears like this in the second or third slot, and that can allow him to not only be a tank but also be able to tag in your special twos. So that is very deadly as well. And you can use this over the chest plate or the helmet. Both these are very good. So that's definitely the best ways to use, Nightwing. Oh, there's another one I forgot to mention. You could use Astro Harness, Totem, and Ninjato. That is a very, very good combo as well. That way you kind of protect him. And the protection from the Astro Harness Bearers and Ninjato will make him really hard to kill. And then Totem will also allow him to be a special 2 carry. Allow him to use his very powerful super moves on defense because how high damage the metal characters have on defense, their super moves get very hard. So he'll be very, very hard to knock out as a carry of a lot of protection, while also getting power refunds and special 2s. Just be overall a very good carry. I've also used Astro Totem Death Guard on him before. It's alright. But I think, Astro Totem Ninjato is better. As for Batman, most people are probably going to think you should just use the full invulnerability setup with Ninja Helmet, Killer Croc Companion Card Evolved, Ginkgo Soda. And while that can be good, it's a little tricky. So most people probably put Batman in the first slot. But I'm going to tell you, a character on defense in the first team slot, all the way to the left side, that character will not actually benefit from crit elements if they have any. So they will not be able to do any critical damage unless they have crit gears or a crit passive. So if you have a max crit damage Batman, which would probably put in a lot of work if he is outnumbered and so tanky, like he is with his passive and his gears, he'll be kind of passive, so he won't really be doing a whole lot of damage, per second because he'll be not able to, deal very powerful critical hits. So, like we said earlier, because he's a Batman and he's able to apply DOT, I think using something like, the Ibistic on him would be very, very good. You can still use Ninja Helmet in Killer Croc Companion Card Evolved, but I think using something like this would be better for you because that way he can apply a lot more offensive pressure and is not just a kind of a sitting duck, not really doing anything, just kind of sitting around. This will at least allow him to pull some weight and, do a lot of DOT to the opponent. Even if he's in the first slot, this is still good. And it will also give him a lot of power generation too because, again, like I said, if he's critting, that's 50% power generation on those critical hits. That plus Ibistic's 20 will get you to 70% 70% power generation. This will also increase the damage of his special 2. His special 2 is so freaking strong. If you happen to have a promoted Batman where he's like lead 7, you can use him for defense, and this is probably something I would recommend you using. I don't recommend Batman as a carry because his special 2 is very, very slow and it can only knock out one person. But on defense, I have been able to win, with him as a carry. I know it's a little weird, but it can definitely happen. It can definitely work. So some things you could do is Master Death Card plus Totem with Ibistic. Even if he doesn't go for special 2, he'll at least do a lot of DOT on special 1s. So that's something you could do. Pretty obvious thing you could do is Ninjato on Batman. That way, if he gets a special 2 and he gets that, it lands unblocked and he gets that stun, really, it doesn't matter how much health you have, it's going to one-shot you because that crit special 2 is going to do just an astronomical amount of damage. Like, I don't know the number, it depends on how high your stats are, but it's going to easily one-shot anybody. And then also it's going to give you a resurrection afterwards because, you just got a KO from that, amazing special 2 we just did. So really hard to block that special 2 is one of the biggest selling points about him, because even if you block it with Master's Death Card nerfing your blocking capabilities and just how hard it hits, it can knock you out through your block. And then he can kind of go on just a snowball of Totem, and you can't even really stop it because it hits that hard. It won't be fast for offense, but like for defense, you winning fast doesn't really matter that much. So, special 2s like that are really strong but not the fastest are perfectly fine, because all that matters is you win. So something like this would be really, really dangerous and make it also hard for him to get knocked out too, because if he gets outnumbered and he has a resurrection too, that's like the worst thing you could possibly see. Because like just when you think you finally knock him out and he gets that resurrection, you're gonna be punching your phone. um, this is another thing you can use. This alongside Totem will make him very, very tanky, because he has all that power from Totem and Death Cart. So that can make him really, hard to knock out. You could even do, you know, Astro Harness. You can do something like, like that, or like that. All kinds of little ways you can use them. I don't like the standard stereotypical Batman and Batman setups. I don't think it's that good. It's honestly kind of a pushover. The most dangerous Batmans I've ever fought were the ones that were actually carries. So I just don't really think that something like this is that worth using. And I think you should kind of lean into his offensive capabilities, by using some kind of buff to his special 2 or his DOT. I think that's a lot better, in my opinion. As for Joker, um, Joker's a really good character for gunner teams, of course, because he gives them area of effect damage. And that is just so nice for characters like Arkham Origins Deathstroke, Arkham Origins Deadshot, um, himself, if, using him with any damaging gears. Who else is a really good gunner? Suicide Squad Deadshot, that's an important one. Characters like that, because he just gives them free splash damage to the entire team, which means they tag in and they just have less health, so they're easier to knock out. And that stacks with other area of effect gears, like Loa Knives, League of Assassin Knives, and a Fourth World Golly Mace. So he's just like a gunner character's best friend because of that. As for him on defense, there are a few setups that I have liked when I used him. I think it's a little tricky when he's got Catwoman on his team, because both of these guys really love to have Astro on them. So you kind of have to, pick what you want to do there. But generally, a team where Nightwing is the tank in the first slot with like Ninjato and the Fourth World Gears, Catwoman with Astro, Soul Digger Sword going to Azrael, and then something like this. This is probably one of your best bets for a Batman Ninja defense team. You got the Quake Engine Joker. You got his very powerful special 2s that are even stronger because they're buffed by Quake Engine. Because if he tags in with Nightwing, they're not going to have any power unless they have, like, let's go upset. Or they're immune for some reason. So, almost always, he's going to tag in. Nightwing's going to drain their power. He's going to do a special 2. And you're going to demolish them because of Quick Engine damage increase and also Massive Death Card, nerfing their blocking capabilities, even if they're blocking. So, they're not going to be able to survive his special 2. And even if he happens to go for a special 1, the poison DOT is going to be made even stronger because of the specials in DOT do 50% damage against an enemy with less bar power. So it's going to make his specials do more damage and his DOT do more damage. And that's going to make him just very scary no matter what he decides to hit you with. And this is another thing. If he gets a knockout, his passive is going to get life drain put on all of his attacks. Special 1, special 2, basic attacks, super move. He's basically going to get free heals, just for hitting you with anything. And it's going to do a lot of life drain. And if you happen to do any life drain to him, it's going to heal him. So you're going to get punished for trying to use life drain on him. And he's going to get insane healing when he hits you after a KO. And 10 seconds is a while, too. Because, even if he's like low HP, he can easily get put back to full HP with another special 1, not special 1, special 2. He will get another special 2 because he just got a KO, so he can just be a really dangerous snowball effect with Totem, Quake Engine, Power Drain from Nightwing, and it'd be really hard to stop it unless you have Astro Harness. And also on top of that, if he's a carry, he's doing area of effect damage too because he counts as a gunner. Jokers are gunners too, so if he's a carry, he's buffing himself with his passive in Quake Engine. which is going to make him just really, really hard to stop. And his special 2 hits so hard. Like, if you block, you're dead, but if you don't block, you're probably dead too. The only saving grace here is it only KOs one, person at a time, unless there's bleed, because only the last hit can get a KO. Again, unless there's bleed. Catwoman does do bleed, so if she gets you to special 1, you might get knocked out twice by that special 2. So yeah, if you were going to use any other setup on Joker, I think probably your best bet is either this here with Astro Totem Quick Engine. Another thing you could do is like Stick here. That way you can kind of focus on special 1 build, because he can apply DOT twice on special 1, not even including his poison. So you can do 2 Stick applications, and then also the poison, and that will make his special 1 DOT even stronger because of Quick Engine, and it'll last even longer again because of Quick Engine. So it makes his Gear DOT and his natural poison DOT last longer and be stronger. Only the poison gets stronger because it's natural, but the Gear DOT will still last longer. So that's another good build you could do. But I also want to mention that if you happen to use Lord Joker on offense, you generally want to have Claw Horse on him always, and then some form of power gain, whether that's from Master Death cards or Razor Go Scimitar. You could also run Quick Engine, do something like that if you want the Quick Engine Joker effect. They can't tag out for a long time. That's also good. Excuse you, burping on video. Anyway, could do that as well. One thing I like to do is if I have animated Harley Quinn with him, I will have like an insane amount of power generation. So there's something like this. If he's a Joker character with animated Harley, he gets 40% power generation. This gives him additional 20%, so that gives him a lot of power generation and also DOT. So he can pull his weight and do a lot of damage, even at Elite 1, because of the Stick DOT. So that way he can be a very good support and also able to, if you need to, he can knock people out with a very strong DOT from Stick. But yeah, I think that's about all I can say for the Batman characters and how to use them. This is a pretty cool team, and for a long time this was one of my favorite teams to use on defense. And it's pretty cool to know that they are actually able to be used on offense too. If you want to make an optimal Batman Ninja offense team. I don't know if I mentioned it, but you can definitely make Batman kind of like a stereotypical Claw Horse support. So if you wanted to do like this, like I just showed with Joker, but on Batman, you could do something like this, and he'd be very good at it. However, you definitely want to kind of make use of his crits. So if you can, you want to kind of include some kind of crits on basics gear in there, so you can do many special ones per match. But this is valid or something like this too. But yeah, that's about all I can tell you guys about the Batman Ninja team. I'm going to try and play some matches before the video's about to end. I think I'm about to run out of space.